Would you a broken bar hold my hand for $1,000? The man's voice trembled as he said it, his expensive suit drenched in rain, his eyes hollow like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. The girl froze as she didn't know whether to run or to laugh. After all, who in their right mind would pay a stranger just to hold their hand? But that night, under the flickering streetlight, that single question changed both their lives forever. It was one of those nights where the city seemed to sigh in exhaustion. The rain had been falling for hours, pooling in broken sidewalks and dripping from shop awnings. Layla, a young woman barely in her 20s, stood outside the Café Tilde Copyright where she worked, clutching her small bag against her chest. Her shift had just ended, and her worn shoes squished with every step. She was tired of smiling for customers who looked down on her, tired of counting every coin just to survive another day. Her mother was sick. Her little brother hadn't eaten properly in 2 days. The hospital bills were like a mountain she couldn't climb. Every night, she walked the same lonely road home, whispering prayers she wasn't even sure anyone was listening to anymore. That's when she saw him, a man sitting on the curb, head buried in his hands, rain pouring down his shoulders. His suit was soaked, his wristwatch glinting faintly under the streetlight. He looked so out of place in that dirty alley that she almost thought he was drunk or lost. She hesitated but then heard a sound, a quiet sob. Layla's heart softened. Despite everything, she could never walk past someone in pain. "Sir Broken Bar, are you okay?" she asked softly. The man lifted his head slowly. His eyes were red, his face pale. "I'm fine," he muttered, but his voice cracked halfway. "Actually a broken bar number." "I'm not," he laughed bitterly, like someone who had forgotten how to be human. "It's funny," he said. "People would pay anything to be near me, to impress me, and yet, right now, I'd give everything I own just a broken bar not to be alone." Layla blinked, unsure how to respond. Then he looked straight at her and said those words, the words that would stay with her forever. "Here's $1,000 a broken bar, just hold my hand." She stared at him, speechless. "What?" "I mean it," he whispered, reaching into his coat and pulling out a folded bundle of cash. "Just stay, please. I don't want to be alone tonight." For a second, Layla thought it was some cruel joke. Maybe he was drunk, maybe dangerous, but there was something about his eyes, a quiet desperation that felt familiar. It was the same loneliness she'd seen in the mirror every morning. Against every instinct, she sat beside him. Hesitantly, she reached out and held his hand. It was cold, trembling, but as her fingers wrapped around his breathing steadied. They sat in silence, the rain whispering between them. Minutes passed before he finally spoke. "My name's Ethan," he said quietly. "Ethan Cole." Her eyes widened. That name was everywhere, on billboards, newspapers, the news. Ethan Cole, the youngest CEO of Cole Enterprises, one of the biggest corporations in the country. But here he was, broken, alone, and crying in the rain like a lost child. He laughed weakly when he saw her expression. "Yeah, broken bar, that guy, the one who has everything, except peace." As the night stretched on, Ethan began to talk. He spoke about how his father's death had thrown him into a world he wasn't ready for, how the pressure of running a billion-dollar company had stolen his sleep, his joy, his sense of self. "Everyone wants something from me," he said. "Money, favors, fame. No one, just a broken bar stays." Layla listened quietly, her thumb brushing against his knuckles. "You don't need to pay someone to stay," she said gently. "You just need to find someone who sees you, not your money." He looked at her like no one had ever said that to him before. That night, they talked until the rain stopped. Before leaving, Ethan tried to hand her the money again. Layla shook her head. "I don't want your money, just a broken bar. Take care of yourself." For the first time in years, Ethan smiled, a real smile. The next day, Layla returned to the Café Tilde Copyright, half convinced it had all been a strange dream. But a few hours later, the Café Tilde Copyright door opened, and in walked Ethan, a clean suit, calm demeanor, but with the same softness in his eyes. "Hi," he said, his voice almost shy. "I never got to thank you properly," she stammered, trying to hide her shock. "You a broken bar, you found me?" He nodded. "It wasn't hard. I bought the Café Tilde Copyright." "What?" "I wanted to see you again. he said simply, "and a broken bar maybe hire you." She frowned. "As what, a barista?" He smiled faintly. "Number, as my assistant, someone I can actually trust." Layla hesitated. It felt too unreal, but something in his tone made her believe this wasn't about charity, it was about connection. So, she agreed. Weeks passed. Working for Ethan changed everything. He was tough, yes, but kind in ways she hadn't expected. He started eating lunch in the employee break room instead of his fancy office. He'd help Layla carry boxes or listen to her talk about her brother's school. Slowly, he began to laugh again, and Layla, she found herself changing too. Her mother's treatment improved with Ethan's help, and for the first time, she could dream beyond survival. But more than that, she realized she cared about Ethan not as the CEO, but as the man who'd once sat in the rain needing nothing but a hand to hold. One evening, after another long day at work, Ethan called her into his office. "Layla," he said softly, "do you remember that night, when I asked you to hold my hand?" She nodded. He smiled faintly, eyes glistening. "That night, I thought I was buying comfort, but you a broken bar. You gave me hope. You reminded me that life isn't about money or power, it's about people who stay when everyone else walks away." He reached out, the same way he had that night, and took her hand again. This time, he whispered, "I don't have $1,000 to give you, just my heart, a broken bar if you'll take it." Layla's eyes filled with tears. She squeezed his hand gently. "You already did," she said. Years later, people would talk about Ethan Collier, the CEO who transformed his company into one that cared about people, not just profits. But only a few knew the truth, that it all began with the girl who refused to take his money, a broken bar, and chose instead to hold his hand. And every night, before bed, Ethan would whisper to her, "You didn't just hold my hand that night, Layla. You held my life together." Because sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can heal the deepest wounds and turn a broken heart into a love story that inspires the world.